We continue now at the top of Daf Vav Kamma Daf and Meseches Bava Kamma. This is Bava Kamma Daf 26b. On the previous Amud, the Mishnah said that when it comes to a person, the person is chayiv in terms of nezek, whether it's b'shogeg, whether it's b'mezid, etc. And the Gemara asks, Menahani Mili, from where do we know this? Rashi says, Menahani Mili, the nezek chayiv afilu shogeg. How do we know that when it comes to nezek, again, as opposed to tsar, ripoy, sheves, and boshus, which the Gemara mentioned on the previous Amud, but how do we know when it comes to nezek, you're chayiv, even if it's b'shogeg? Amar Chizkiya v'chein tana devei Chizkiya. Chizkiya said, and it was also taught in the yeshiva of Chizkiya as follows, Amar Krutz, because the pasuk says, Petza tachas patza, l'chayvu ala shogeg kamezid, v'ala ones karatz. And we learn from the pasuk of Petza tachas patza, that the person is chayiv on shogeg, just like mezid, and is chayiv on ones, just like ratzon, whether it's by mistake, just like on purpose, whether it is by accident, just like if it was done willingly. And Rashi says, Petza tachas patza kro yiseruhu l'hach drosha. This is an extra pasuk to darshan. Da'ksiv ki'itein mumba miso kasheraso chavia v'chabur darshin ba'chovel. We darshan the rest of this pasuk in Parak HaChovel, but in any case, we learn from this extra phrase in the pasuk again that there's a chiyuv even b'shogeg. And the Gemara continues, Hai mi boy lei, but isn't this pasuk needed? Litein tsar b'makom nezek, for the concept of tsar b'makom nezek. Rashi explains b'makom nezek meaning ti'afilu heicha de'ika nezek shalim. Even in a situation where you're paying the full nezek, nami tsar, there's also going to be a payment of tsar. Because you might have said that when do you have to pay for tsar, which is the pain that was caused, hainu b'deleka nezek. That's if there is no actual damage to the person, there's only pain. Maybe only in that situation you pay the pain. Kagon kavau b'shvud al tziporno, you do something to the person where it doesn't make his value go down, something, let's say, to the fingernail. That's what you might have thought. And so Petza Tachas Patza is needed to say, no, you have to pay tsar even in a situation where you're already paying for the nezek. And so the Gemara says, Imkain, if that was the case, that it was just to teach us tsar b'makom nezek, lichtov kra petza b'patza, the pasuk should have just said petza b'patza, my tachas patza. Why does it say the word tachas over there? Shmami notarti. So you see both chidushim. You see again you're chayiv by shogeg just like mezid, etc. And also the idea that you're chayiv on tsar b'makom nezek. And the Gemara continues, Amar Rabba says, Haisa evan munachas lo b'cheko. Let's say a person has a stone in his lap. V'lo hikir bo, he has no idea that the stone is there. V'yomad v'nafli, he gets up and it falls, and then it causes some kind of damage or something happens. So le'inyan izak, and let's say it causes a damage, so chayiv, he's going to have to pay for that nezek, even though it was an accident. Le'inyan arba devarim, but in terms of the dalad devarim, tsar ripoy sheves and bosha, so potter, as we said, you're potter, because there was no intention, it was not done on purpose. Le'inyan Shabbos, let's say in terms of Shabbos, let's say what happened was the stone went from one rishus to another rishus, but again, this was an accident. Meleches machsheves asra Torah. The Torah only says it's a problem if it's a malacha, constructive thing that was done on purpose. Here, this was a total accident. You wouldn't be chayiv. Le'inyan golus, also in terms of going to golus, let's say would accidentally kill someone. Potter, he'd be potter, because again, in this case, it's not even at the level of shogeg. It's not a mistake. This is a situation where he had no idea. It's considered a total accident. Le'inyan eved, and in terms of eved, let's say it falls on an eved, it falls on his eved, and it blinds the eved, or it knocks out the eved's tooth. So is the eved going to go free? So pluksa Rav Shimon ben Gamliel for Rabbanan, that would actually be a machlokas between Rav Shimon ben Gamliel and the Rabbanan. The Tanya, as we learned in a brayso, Harei shoya Rabu Rofe, let's say his master was a doctor, v'yamar lo kechol eini v'sima, and let's say the eved said to the master who's a doctor, paint my eye in order to heal the eye, but then he ends up blinding him, or chasur li sheni, or scrape my tooth, v'ipilo, he causes the tooth to fall out. So sichek ba'adon, he can laugh at the master, he can mock the master, v'yotzel l'cheiros, and he goes free. Rav Shimon ben Gamliel says, V'shichasa, it says in the pasuk when it talks about the eved going free in these situations, it says, V'shichasa, we understand that to mean Anshiyaskavin, L'shachsa, he has to have intent for that kind of destruction, and so therefore, according to Rav Shimon ben Gamliel, in order for the eved to go free, there has to be an intention to blind the eved, there has to be an intention to knock out his tooth, and so you see that's a machlokus between the Rav Shimon ben Gamliel and the Rabbanan. And the Gemara continues, Hikar ba v'shachol, let's say he knew about the stone on his lap, but then he forgot about it. So that's already like a level of shogeg, it was just a mistake. V'yamad v'nafla, again, he stands up and it falls. Le'inyan nizak and chayiv, he'll be chayiv again on damages, just because it was a mistake. Still, he's going to have to pay damages. Le'inyan dalad devarim, in this case, as far as Dal Devarim, Pater, he's Pater, because still, even though since it was a mistake, rather, you're Pater from Dal Devarim. Linyan Golos, when it comes to Golos Chayiv, that's the classic case of Golos, which is killing someone b'shogeg. He's going to be Chayiv to go into exile if he kills someone. The Yomar Kruk, because the pasuk says Bishgaga. What does Bishgaga mean? Mechlal dehavale yadiyah. Bishgaga sounds like there was some kind of knowledge, and then he didn't realize, then he forgot. V'havale yadiyah. In this case, there was some kind of knowledge. Therefore, there's Golos. Linyan Shabbos Pater, as far as Shabbos is concerned, it's still a shogeg, so he is going to be Pater. Linyan Eved, now in terms of the Eved going free, it's the same machlokas, Pluksa Rav Shimon Gamliel, V'Rabbanan, it's going to be a machlokas between Rav Shimon Gamliel and the Rabbanan. And the Gemara continues, Niskaven Lizrok Shtayim V'Zarak Arba. Let's say the person had intent to throw the stone 2 amos, and then he throws the stone 4 amos. Linyan Nizaken Chayiv, as far as Nizaken is concerned, again, the fact that it was unintentional, still he's going to be Chayiv. Linyan Dalad Devarim Pater, as far as the Dalad Devarim, Sar Riboy Sheves and Bosh is going to be Pater, it was not his intention. Linyan Shabbos Meleches Machsheves Bo'inon, as far as Shabbos is concerned, this would not be considered a Meleches Machsheves, he would be Pater, his intention was only to throw it 2. Linyan Golos, as far as Golos is concerned, Asher Lo Tzada Amar Achmona, the pasuk says Asher Lo Tzad, and we darshan from that pasuk Pratlin and Skavin Lizrok Shtayim V'Zarak Dal, that we exclude a case where his kavanah was to throw it 2 and he throws it 4. And Linyan Eved, and as far as Eved is concerned, once again Pluksa Rav Shimon Gamliel v'Rabbanan, it will be machlokas between Rav Shimon ben Gamliel and the Rabbanan, again whether intention matters in terms of freeing the Eved when you knock out his tooth or you blind him. And the Gemara continues, Neskavin Lizrok Arba V'Zarak Shmona, let's say it's the same case, but in this case he had intention to throw 4 amos and then he threw 8 amos. The only difference in this case from the above case is here, his intention was either way to throw it in amount, which would be problematic on Shabbos, and so Linyan Nizaken Chayiv, as far as Nizaken Chayiv, that's the same as the above case. Linyan Dal Devarim Pater, as far as Dal Devarim Pater, same as the above. Linyan Shabbos, but as far as Shabbos is concerned, Bi Omer Kol Mokom Shetirtza Tanuach. Now if he says, wherever it lands, so that's where I want it to land, so then yes, actually he would be chayiv in that case, because his original intention was 4, which would have been chayiv, lo, but if he doesn't say that, then he's not going to be chayiv. Linyan Golos, as far as Golos, that's the same as above. Asher Lo Tzada Pratlin Eskavin Lizrok Arba V'Zarak Shmona. It says Asher Lo Tzada, that tells us that if his intention is to throw 4 and it goes 8, so then he's going to be Pater. Linyan Eved, and as far as Eved is concerned, the same as above. Pluksa Rav Shimon Gamliel v'Rabbanan, it's the same machlokas between Rav Shimon Gamliel and the Rabbanan. And Rashi explains Linyan Golos, as far as Golos is concerned, again in these cases of Niskavin Lizrok Shtayim, let's say V'Zarak Arba. So first Rashi says Chayiv, that in this case actually it means to say you're Chayiv. The way we have it in our Gemara is Linyan Golos Asher Lo Tzada Prat L'Niskavin Lizrok Shtayim V'Zarak Dalid. But Rashi's first understanding is that you're actually Chayiv Golos in this case. T'chsiv V'Asher Lo Tzada V'Samti L'Chamakom Prat L'Niskavin Lizrok Shtayim V'Zarak Arba She'eno B'Toras V'Chiyaz Edish. He understands at first that the exclusion is it's not considered a case of on purpose. Ela B'Toras V'Samti L'Chamakom. Rather, it is included in terms of Golos. But then Rashi gives a second explanation, which is how we explain it in the Gemara. Lishnachrin, another version, V'Asher Lo Tzada Pratlam Eskavin to Pater mi Golos. The Gemara actually means Pater from Golos. Tachi Mashma Shalot Tzada Shalon Eskavin Letzadid V'Lizrok Etzlo Yonas Prat Lezesh Tzada. Because then we'd understand that it comes to exclude this case where there wasn't that kavana. In this particular situation, we're going to say there is no Golos. And Rashi continues, Imamar Kol Makom Shetirtza Tanuach. Again, the Gemara said in the case where he throws it, his intention is 4, and then he ends up throwing it 8. So if he says wherever it lands, I don't really care, so then Chayiv, then he actually is going to be Chayiv. Shareyesh Kan Meleches Machsheves, because there's a Meleches Machsheves here, the Zarak Arba, because he threw 4, he wanted to throw 4, and that's what happened. He threw at least 4, he threw more than 4. Avon Eskavin Lizrok Shtayim Zarak Arba, but let's say he wants to throw 2, and then he throws 4. Afilu Amar Kol Makom Shetirtza Tanuach Pater. There, even if he says wherever it lands, it still doesn't matter. He's still Pater. She'ikar Machshavto Eina L'Melacha, because his original Machshava was not for any kind of Melacha. And the Gemara continues, V'yomar Rabba, and Rabba says, Zora Klime Rosh Hagag, if somebody throws a vessel from the top of a roof, Uva Acher V'shivro B'makel, and somebody else, before it hits the ground, someone else comes with a stick and breaks it, Pater, that person is Pater. My time, what's the reason? Menot Tavira Tavar. It was a vessel that really was already broken, that he's breaking, it was going to break anyway, so that second person is not Chayiv. Rashi says, Pater Zesh Shavra B'makel, the one who broke it with the stick is Pater, Kodem Shviras Sharei Sofali Shavar, because it was going to break anyway. And the Gemara continues, V'yamar Rabba, and Rabba says, Zora klime rosh hagag, if a person throws a vessel from the top of a roof, v'yutachtav karmo kistos, and you have there on the bottom, you have pillows or some kinds of cushions, ba'acher v'silkon, if somebody else comes and removes those cushions, or kadam v'silkon, or even if he himself gets there first and removes them, potter, he's going to be potter. My time, and what's the reason? Ba'idno deshadia, psuke mifsuk agiri, because at the time he threw it, his arrows have ceased, meaning to say, it wasn't really going to break, and even if he himself removes the cushions, that's just considered to be grama, that's considered to be indirect, and that's why he is potter. Rashi says, potter sharim mizri kaso ein sofuli shaver, because when he threw it at that time, it wasn't going to break. Achi nalu hakarim, until those pillows were taken away. V'zeh shenatal hakarim, and the person who took away the pillows, ve'afilu hazorak atzmo natal, and even if the person who threw it is the one that took him away, potter is potter de grama bin izaken havi, because again, that's considered to be grama, it's indirect. You're not chayev for grama. And the Gemara continues, V'yamar Rabba, and Rabba says, Zorak tinok merosh hagag, if somebody throws a child, a baby from the top of a roof, uva'acher v'kiblo b'sayif, and somebody else comes and receives that child with a sword, pluksed Rabbi Yehuda ben Beseira of Rabbanan, that's going to be a machlokas between Rabbi Yehuda ben Beseira and the Rabbanan. The Tanya, as we learned in a brayso, hiku asara b'nei adam, ba'asara makolas, let's say 10 people hit the person, and they have 10 staves, bein b'basachas, bein b'zachar, whether it's all happening at once, or it's one after the other, kulan, so all of them, and we will continue with this discussion in the next video on Daf Chav Zayin Amud Aleph.